Good evening. It is Monday, August 25th, 2025. I am Jeffrey Whidden. I'm joined tonight by Mrs. Marshall. This is the Law and Ordinance Committee. Tonight we have one item on our agenda. We're going to be discussing Ordinance 023-2025, the rezoning of the Smith Annexation, located on the corner of Wilson and Fenner Road, from County A2 General Agricultural to City Zoning R4 Single Family Residential. Mr. Titterton, do you have anything for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had public hearing last meeting. The Planning Commission has unanimously recommended rezoning. This is the 57.7 acres known as Smith Annexation. It's at Fenner Road and Wilson. There were comments, questions made at asked at the public hearing. As we had discussed at the previous committee meeting regarding a separate annexation and general plan, this stormwater, I think there were a couple questions regarding the stormwater and how that's handled. The fact is that when those are designed and calculated, they're calculated to, and the requirement for any kind of developer moving forward is that they handle at least as much as it's coming onto their property undeveloped as developed, if not more. And typically they are over-designed to ensure that they meet at least the minimum. Traffic is anticipated to be fairly minimal. It does not warrant any kind of improvements at all, and in fact, I believe much of this, let me double check. I don't want to say it's outside in the county, but it is county adjacent. And so that is not an issue. There were some questions about agricultural land. Frankly, we don't get involved in the philosophical discussion regarding farmland versus other uses. The fact is that the owner of the property has requested that this be rezoned. It does comply with our comprehensive plan, future land use map, and is appropriate for that area. Regarding the comprehensive plan, there were a couple of questions related to county input and I guess coordination with the cities, between the city and the county comprehensive plan. We do not seek the approval of the planning of the county for rezonings. We consult our comprehensive plan. I can say that when our comprehensive plan was approved by Planning Commission, the county took that plan and incorporated it into their process, which is, I believe, ongoing. It's getting closer, but not quite there yet. We did have participation in those discussions. When we were developing our comprehensive plan, there were county participants that provided some input. The comprehensive plan process for the county we have participated in as well. I believe at last count there were 5 of us that were involved in that process at various stages. Myself, the mayor, Mr. Davis, Mr. Ida Miller, and I'm missing one. And nobody is chiming in, so they obviously forgot as well. And Robert Watson, our former engineering technician. And so we do discuss these things. We do coordinate our comprehensive planning. We're interested in rationally and without too much speed continuing to expand our boundaries and our population to support the businesses and industry, as well as to continue to grow the community. And again, we are following our comprehensive plan, so we're not varying from that. We are not requesting emergency legislation, but we are asking for a positive recommendation to change that zoning.
All right. And I thank you for that. And earlier this week, Mr. Tiddington and Mrs. Knight had both reached out to me about that question that was raised at our last council meeting about agricultural land and how we see that and want to move forward with that. Is it fair to say, I don't want to paint a blanket term, but if it's on our future use map and it's, you know, thinking areas that we might move into at some point in time, that is potential to be moved into residential, that there should not be, that we already anticipate that land being brought in and losing that agricultural land. But if it's not marked on that map, then there might be further discussion before we decide to do that.
Well, ultimately, you know, we don't typically proactively rezone properties.
Mm-hmm.
On our comprehensive plan land use map, you might see some areas that are kind of overlapping areas, undesignated. Those could be farmland that have not been designated for anything. We do have 2 zoning districts that allow either agricultural or residential, which I believe is 5 acres minimum, and then agriculture. So if somebody came in and they wanted to go from county to city zoning, and they wanted to go from county agriculture to one of our 2 agricultural districts, and they're in the undesignated area, you know, that's a possibility as well. So we do have that mechanism in place.
Okay. And I would say that for myself personally, I'm not unsympathetic to agriculture, and the reason that Ohio is certainly an agricultural state, I made sure to look it up over the weekend. 55% of Ohio's industry is agricultural, but we also have 13.5 million acres of agricultural land in Ohio, and we also have a housing crisis in Ohio, and we need more homes, and it's a balance between those 2, and I think that in this case, with all the parameters that are met with the review of the Planning Commission, that I feel comfortable moving forward with this. Mr. Tater, you also brought up many of the questions, and I don't want to ask you again, but it's what we brought up and gets brought up every time we kind of have these rezonings is capacity at the schools, is traffic being looked at, and water usage. I appreciate you bringing all those up. And the fact that we look at those every single time these rezonings do come up.
And we've had discussions with schools in the past. Their school population is stable, and in some grades actually declining. There are no concerns as far as student influx.
I appreciate it. Any questions?
What about like the trash? Are we going to have to hire any more people to work those? No,
I mean, we're constantly monitoring all of our services, police, fire, EMS, public works, and then as we hit certain, you know, those thresholds, then we will bring those to you during budget season. We don't anticipate from
Are we anywhere near?
I don't believe so. I believe we're okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we regularly renew our fleet, if you will, on a regular capital schedule. So we make sure that we have good, modern, late date equipment, and you know, we. Like I said, we continue to grow, but it's slow growth. It's not overwhelming, and so we have time to monitor and see what the impact of new developments and new projects do to our staffing levels.
Any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Do any other members of council have any questions? Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, sir. Just a general comments upon some of the questions posed by the public and what I've seen in my almost 16 years council. When we talk about preserving farmland and that sort of thing. It's not up to the city as a whole to preserve farmland because it's a private property issue. Generally, after a generation or two or more, they run out of folks that want to be in the farming business. And so therefore they generally have to sell or want to sell or move on and do something else. And there just isn't a plethora of people getting into the farming business. So that's one thing that they have to look at, and it's just not going to run itself. So when they decide to divest, generally it is developers, whether it's commercial or residential or whatever the usage might wind up being, that will buy these things, and they generally will drive up the price of the land. And it's really unfortunate, but you just can't turn down those prices, with the property owner. And then it's the developer or the business folks that buy these pieces of property that come in and do the rezoning and all of the due diligence that they do to find out whether their business is going to be a viable entity in the area and that sort of thing, and spend a lot of money doing their due diligence and requesting these things. It's generally not the city being the buyer and requesting people to do these sort of things. These are private property folks, and almost all of these occasions that come before us requesting to do whatever the action is, annexation, water, sewer connections, and or rezonings and other things. So there's a lot of things that people ask about and have concern about, but it's outside of our control. And especially when it comes to the comprehensive plan that a lot of work goes into by staff, consultants, and general public that do have input into those things, that generally we will see the pattern that a population will grow either in a business direction or in a residential direction. So those things are natural positions that get taken, and how the comprehensive plans in a nutshell get codified and that sort of thing. That doesn't mean it's set in stone absolute, because a different rezoning may come into some area. But there are conditions that have to be met when they do that for certain zonings to be next to each other, all kinds of conditions that come into play. So there's a lot of things that the public comes into with these questions. And as I mentioned at a previous meeting, when it comes to water coming off of property and into property, I have not seen a development, whether it's commercial or residential, wind up creating a problem after it has been designed and hooked up correctly. I did mention that we did have an accident this past rainy season with a development next to Kensington, but it was just an error in construction, and they didn't have the piping cemented down yet, and it was just a matter of timing, and it did flood. And then when the pipes were put down about 30 minutes later and put into place, the water drained beautifully, and it was an overabundance of water, more water than I have ever seen in the past 18 years out in that area. And it had a store because the ponds had filled up, and they were over capacity more than that field has probably ever seen in its lifetime. But it did drain well, and everything was fine. So all of the developments that have been developed commercially and residentially have functioned well, and I have full faith and confidence in our engineer's office and the private folks that come in here with the oversight that we give in designing these things. And I want to piggyback on Mr. Tinnerington's comments about the school system. In my conversations with the superintendent, he indicated the same thing, that the population is, I don't want to say flattish, but it is maintaining. It is not growing exponentially, as Mr. Tinnerington indicated. There are some that are decreasing, so they are not concerned at all at this point with the new school systems, with any of the developments and future growth that is already in the planning of these schools, that they are going to be maxed out at this point in time, or any conceivable near future. I would say 15 to 20 years. which would be a normal lifespan of some of these buildings, and expectations without some recalculation and a huge population growth. So those things come into play. So I hope that in the generalities in which I'm speaking here, that the general public will be somewhat allayed of any fear of these type of developments and that sort of thing. So these are just some of the things that I know, I learned by asking questions behind the scenes, and feel confident that these projects are going to be an enhancement to the city of Troy and not a negative.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
You're welcome.
Any members of the audience have any questions? Sorry, Mr. Pierce.
You've had those discussions with Superintendent of Troy, I suppose, Troy
Right.
City Schools. How about Miami East? Are we having those conversations?
Not with
Miami
those
East?
folks.
Yeah, we have in the past, and they've not had any issues.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a recommendation?
Move forward.
It is unanimous to move forward. Is there anything else before the committee this evening? We stand adjourned.
All right, thank you.